You are with the University of Karate. We have joined together again to talk about the principles, the history, the techniques, the science, all the various things that come together to make the martial arts. Today, our topic is going to be very interesting. We're going to try to do something that's very rarely done, and that is talk about the concept of taking a style of martial art and being a practitioner of that style, but creating your own style. But we're not going to spend an hour talking about Bruce Lee. Most everyone gets so caught up in Bruce Lee that they don't talk about the actual principle itself, because the reality of what Bruce Lee was trying to bring in many different areas is beyond Bruce Lee as a person. It's a reality of the martial arts. Because so many things have been and are continuing to be lost in the martial arts, we attribute it to a person. But in talking with Sensei Biddle, it's often the conversation of how individuals have a certain body type, a certain natural ability to do certain moves, whether it's rotation and so on, having a better adaptation to certain techniques than others, having natural gifts, natural athleticism, where certain techniques are more suited to that person than others. And with great emphasis and commitment to the martial arts, the sooner you find out what those things are and spend time trying to master a few of them, the more likely you'll be a master, as opposed to someone spending a lot of time trying to master 1,000 things and being not good at most. Sensei Biddle, I think, is going to share some things with us that are going to help us in this concept of understanding what it means, or what it can mean, or what it should mean, no matter what style you practice, of creating and making your own style. Help us with that a little bit, Sensei Biddle.
Yeah, I'm going to start out by saying something that's going to be a little bit off on that for a moment and come back to what, when you look at a style like Uechi-ryu, Kanbun brought over 3 kata: Sanchin, Seisan, Sansei-ryu. Now we have 8. Why did we need 5 more? So we just added techniques. I think we lost our way. And that's back to what John was talking about, where how do you make a style yours? So I just threw that out there for you to think about that, because it has meaning here, but I want you to find it. I'm going to play the guru here and you figure it out. So now to go directly to what John was talking about, where every human being, every single one of us has different abilities within our physical frame. The elites of the human beings, the 1 in a million, or the 1 in the 5 in 10 billion, are the best of the best. The Tiger Woods, the one that has everything. And then you have, like, I just got done watching the Tour de France. I love to watch that because it's interesting to me for other reasons. But 2 guys in the world can win that race, and only one of them does. Out of 7 billion people, 1 guy. So 1 guy is the best gymnast. 1 girl is the best boxer. 1 girl is the best gymnast. 1 person is the best. Those are the people that have the whole package, not just the physical ability, the mental ability, the ability to withstand injury. And this is a hugely overlooked topic. A friend of mine was one of the best golfers I'd ever seen. In his coming up and through college ranks, they knew he was coming. But you know what he had a problem with? He started having tumors in his body, and they took him out. They took a tumor out, and they pinched a nerve in his neck, and he was done with golf. He didn't have the whole package. Sad, really sad. This guy was swinging at 130 miles an hour 20 years ago with a 44-inch shaft instead of a 46, 48-inch driver. But his body got him. So don't strive to be the elite. You're not that person. If you are, you already know it. I don't need to tell you. It's like when you go watch girls playing soccer out there, and you say, "Oh, I want my girl to play college ball." No, she's not, because she's not the one that's running up and down the field scoring goals at will. Because those people exist. Those are the ones. So the first thing to realize is that's not you, it's not me, it never was. So what are your physical limitations? So you're in a style. Now I found my way into Uechi-ryu. It was by accident really, but it's another story. But fortunately it fit me. Because as I said in other videos, I have very limited hip flexibility. I can't do the splits. I've never gotten down all the way. I've gotten close to more labor than you'd want to know about. But it was always going to be a limitation. I never could do a proper round kick. Never. I just could not get the angle. So I could not have done Taekwondo. Now, but I got to put a caveat on that. Maybe I could have if my instructor would have worked with my limitations. And there's a key point. So you're in a style. Let's say it's Uechi-ryu or it's Shotokan or whatever. Along your journey, sports is taught with what I call positional training. Everybody teaches you a position. You get in this position, you hold your hands this way, you turn your hips this way, you stand in this stance, and that is a position. And my thing is, as I evolved in my time, is that I came up with this expression: positions don't create movement. Movement creates positions. But it's not bad to understand what the position is, but the question you ask is, how am I going to get there? So whatever your limitation is, and you have them, they're real, you put on a style and they teach you the positions and they make you fit in this suit of armor, this not made for your body. It's too tight in one area, too loose in another. It's like putting on a bad pair of jeans where your inseam is too long and you're tripping over the bottom, or it's too short and your ankles are sticking out and everybody's making fun of you, or your legs are too big and you're not comfortable in the flexible, you can't move. So this is what you're stuffing yourself into a kata. And I used to love my instructor. He would describe this to me like, you're just stuffing, and you do this, you're stuffing yourself into this form, and here you are, and you're fighting yourself in it. And then, but you've got to learn that structure. That's the main thing. One takeaway here is do learn the structure, but understand that you're probably not going to do it like your sensei or the master is. Because remember, he's the best, or one of the best. He's the end of the line there, right? So they can do the things that you can't do, and you're always probably going to fall short. My instructor, when I would do side splits, would tell me I looked like the Skyway Bridge out in St. Pete. That'd be so high I couldn't get wide enough, and I never could. So I was never going to do the high round kicks to the head. That wasn't happening. So whatever style it is, and you're in this system, you're putting on the suit of armor. And that's a good analogy because that's what karate is, a suit of armor. But you've got to eventually learn to make it fit. But you're not going to fit to it. You have to make it fit to you. So within your limitations, in order to, as John alluded to, in order to become master of a style, you're not going to master the style. You're going to master the style that you're in, that you're able to perform it with to the best of your ability. So you have to learn the foundational stuff, but as you progress through time, you have to start asking yourself, what works for me? What is going to be my style? Now, it doesn't mean you're outside of your weight. Like if I'm Uechi-ryu, it doesn't mean I'm outside of Uechi-ryu. What am I in Uechi-ryu? Now, it was interesting for me that when I was studying Uechi-ryu, nobody fought in Sanchin stance. So it was comfortable for me, so I started fighting out of the Sanchin stance. And it changed everything. I made that my style. I made my style my style. But not everything fit, because there's certain techniques and certain movement patterns that I didn't get as well as other people could. I'll give you a great one. Here's a great example. In Uechi-ryu, when you do a toe kick, you pull the other toes back and you leave your big toe extended. If you watch any Uechi-ryu clips, you'll see they do this. my toes are the most inflexible things. They're like just sticks. So I never, my instructor, Fiddle, can't you? Nope. And he'd look at me like, well, you're not going to be able to toe kick. So how was I going to toe kick? I can't pull my toes in to extend the big toe, so how am I going to kick my toe kick? You know what I did? I just didn't care. I learned to drive the big toe by slightly angling my foot. Slightly angling my foot, and my other toes would just sort of collapse. So my big toe would be all that was left. But I got to the point where I conditioned it enough where I didn't care. Now, through force of will, force of effort, by kicking heavy bags, I'd kick thousands of kicks in the heavy bag, and then I'd learn on kicking boards. Now, you don't slam into boards. It takes you years to develop tap, tap, tap. Then it's tap, tap, tap. Then it's tap, tap, tap. 3 or 4 or 5, 6 months later, you develop this ability. So my other toes learned to just collapse, and my big toe learned to stay there. So that wasn't overcoming. I made that my style. That's my point. I could not do. They used to laugh at me, but yet I could kick with my toes. And to do a round kick, so I could not. Now there isn't a round kick in Uechi-ryu, but we always did them. But I took a round kick. I took a front kick, and I kicked usually from my rear leg. But I would drive the kick straight up like it was going to be a front kick, and then I would rotate my hips. Again, I'm limited hip flexibility enough to create an angle, and interesting enough, it went right in underneath the elbow to the ribs. It was absolutely deadly. It was like a front kick, round kick hybrid. I've seen them now do that in MMA. I invented it because that was 35 years ago, almost 40. Yeah, it was 40 years ago. Because I couldn't get the hip high enough and the knee high enough to bring the angle in at the direct 90-degree angle. Mine always came at 45-degree angle. But you know what they were? They were faster. Because I could come right up the angle, and if you had your arms like in a boxer position or Sanchin position, your ribs were mine. And I very rarely did it in sparring, but it was my secret weapon. So that's just an example of using your limitation and finding its advantage. So my hips were always inflexible, but because of that, they were always incredibly strong. You weren't going to grab me and turn me very easily. Because if I got in a Sanchin stance and I locked those hips, that became my strength. So it's turning a weakness into a strength. Learning to work around your weaknesses and finding out what you do. That's how you make the style your style. If you're better at certain movements and you have greater range of motion, then learn to figure out what those are. So in Uechi-ryu, your Sanchin should be what you can make it. Your teacher is grinding you all these years in the positions, and that's proper, learning how to get the positions. We've talked about that, how to engage the right muscles. That's positional strength. But as you evolve, you have to learn to use that Sanchin, that style, whether if it's a Shotokan stance, how do you make that Shotokan stance work for you? Just because the Shotokan stance is a wide stance, and if you don't have the hip flexibility to make that and turn your hips into it properly, make it a narrower stance. Experiment with that. It doesn't have to be wide or narrow. It doesn't have to be a wide. Your side kick doesn't have to come in. A proper side kick is done by lifting the leg, and as you extend it out, you turn the hip out underneath. Almost like a back kick. That's where because you engage the glutes, you create that power with that. Now, see, I never could do that. So I had to do it with less limited flexibility, but I had one of the most powerful side kicks around because I didn't try to do it that way. I made my own way. And I used to swing a heavy bag, a 90-pound heavy bag, and as it came back toward me, I would launch into it. and I could get it moving the other way. But that was learning to use what I had. So my Uechi-ryu, that's why now if you look at Uechi-ryu or you look at Shotokan or you look at Isen-ryu, all the masters look different. They all teach different things. There's one style of Uechi-ryu, but there's 70 forms of it because the masters have developed their own style, and it is what they should do. If you if you stay within your style, you should make it your own, and that's what mastery is. It's understanding what you can do within your system, not abandoning it. Too many people leave because I can't do that kick. I can't do taekwondo because I can't do high spinning back kicks. We'll do low spinning back kicks. Doesn't mean you can't learn how to accomplish it and do it differently. Make it your style. Follow what your instructor is teaching you. Try to learn what he's telling you, but with the understanding that you are going to at some point advance beyond that to what you're able to do, how you're able to move. Because we all don't move the same. We're different shapes, different sizes, length, height, mesomorphic, different, body styles, body shapes, flexibility. It's infinite variation. None of us in the entire planet are identical, which is really cool to think about that. So it's impossible for us all to move the same. It's like if you're, I'm going to close with this because I pointed out how sports are taught in positions. Golf is the biggest culprit in it. P1 through 6. Throw it out because you're not going to do Tiger's P3. You're not going to do the elite. Everybody's trying to, they use, this is what the tour pros do. Well, good for them. I can't. You're not doing that. Learn the philosophy of the swing. Learn what your teacher is teaching you in what the club does, but then figure out a way to do it your way. Now, the only caveat I would introduce into this is you've got to find the right muscles. And we've talked about that in other videos. There's a right way to rotate. There's a proper way to move. That you have to learn. So as you're learning your style, ask yourself, am I moving correctly? That is the most important question you can ask yourself in your journey. The second most important thing is, how do I make it my own?
This sounds like a morning motivation as much as a conversation. I know that many people have a lot of questions, a lot of thoughts. And again, please go in the comments below and continue the conversation. We might even call this, is mastery creating your own style? Understanding how to do so, because again, this is the kind of connotation that Sensibility is trying to bring forth, that we can be both wise and also realistic about our strengths, our limitations, our gifts, and so on, and to make the style our own. You are with the University of Karate, and again, we want to see you again next time.